Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an incredible exploration into the many facets of love, oneness, and our connection to the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined by the most amazing co-host, Michael J. Russ. I want to welcome you, Michael, and just wrap you in my arms and give you a great big hug because I'm so appreciative of all that you bring to this world and all that you bring to this show. And I just want to say welcome and see how you're doing today.
Excellent. Then there's hugs all around. That's just the way it is. And I'm loving it. Yes, I appreciate your kind words. And yeah, same to you. I concur completely, as they say in the legal business. I concur with what you said and send it right back to you because it's what we do. We have such a good time, and any conversation that we have, it's wonderful. We can get an opportunity to take an hour to have a delightful, introspective conversation about all topics love and connection and oneness and kindness and compassion. It's beautiful. And I'm doing well. I'm great today. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I did get to sit in the sun just a little bit this morning to absorb that beautiful light.
Oh, how nice it is. And each week is really truly a space of remembering who each one of us is and reconnecting with our heart. It is something that's so simple and so profound, but each person, as you said, carries an inner light, a spark of compassion and creativity and love. I think sometimes many people don't see that light within them. I wanted just to mention somebody very special who shared their light with this world, and that would be your mother, who I hope you don't mind me dedicating the show to her because she was really such a beautiful light and such a beautiful gift to this world, and she brought you into this world and made you who you are. She guided you and she allowed you the freedom, and so I couldn't think of a better person who illustrates what it means to shine the inner light than your mom.
True.
So
thank you. Yeah, she passed less than a week ago, and we expected it. We knew it would happen, and the love just never stops. Everybody that ever connected with her in some way, big or small, she left an impression, a positive impression on them. Without it, it's just she had such big light, and that was the beauty of her life and what she taught us without actually saying that's what we need to do, but she taught through example. And she was a very kind person. She was a person that several times took people into our house who were in a way station in their life and just needed a little help for assistance for a short period of time to get back on their feet. I can remember that. When I said I wanted to drop out of college, she said, okay, yeah. That's whatever, it's your life. Do what you'd like to do. You must have it'll unfold for you the way it's supposed to. And didn't really give me a lot of grief about it. She was not somebody who needed to be pleased. She let us be who we are. That's the one thing I'm so grateful for, that she allowed us to simply make our own choices and live with the consequences and supported us all the way through it. And if it didn't work out the way that we thought it would, she never chastised us, never said, I told you so, never said anything other than, so what's next? And she's someone you could sit down with. I know I used to sit down there during my first divorce and my second divorce. I sat down with her and had conversations with her and told her what I was thinking and what I was feeling, and she'd sit there patiently listening. And if she had anything to impart, she would do it then, but not in a chastising way or not in a angry way or an ill-fitted way. She was always a willing ear and a supportive, partner in life. She was fantastic in that way, and everybody who came across her knew that. She was very fair, but she never gave you anything negative, never shared any negativity. She told me something in confidence years ago that, it was kind of a shame, but my father was in the military, and we moved around every 2 years. We were going to a different place. And she told me that, and this is kind of the antithesis of the person that she actually became or how everybody knew her, but she said the first time we moved from New Jersey. I think we were in New Jersey for a little bit to Niagara Falls. She moved there, and then I was born in Niagara Falls. And we moved to Alaska for 3 years. And she said, when we left Alaska after 3 years there, leaving the people that I'd made such deep friendships with, and connections with hurt me so badly. I said I'd never allow myself to get that close to anybody again. It was interesting. This was back in the 60s, early 60s. And I'm not going to say that she followed through with that promise she made to herself, because what I saw of her was something completely different. But I know that she might have been a little bit guarded, a little more guarded each and every time we moved, because she was a sensitive being. She was a sensitive soul. And I respected her for sharing that with me, and not saying that's how it needed to be with you, or she just wanted to let me know about herself and what some choices that she had made. And but everybody who knew her actually understood how empowering she could be, just being herself. The light that she brought to wherever was just huge and overpowered everything. It was just the love and the compassion and the concern. Her smile was so beautiful. I put a picture up on Facebook of the smile. I was able to get her to sort of a little Mona Lisa smile, a little better on Facebook about, I don't really post to Facebook very often, but I posted some kind words about her in the last picture I took with her in the sunshine, where we were outside of her assisted living facility in the month of December. And I was there for Christmas. And she was in rare form. She had had a stroke, she hasn't been able to communicate since September in a meaningful way, but she could laugh. And we did everything we could to get her to laugh. And when we did, she was just laugh, just complete belly laugh. And, I could go into it forever, but she was a very special person to a lot of people. And she outlived all her friends. At 97 and I think 2 months, 97 and 3 months, she outlived everyone that she had and had a full life. And she was not one for going to funerals, so she didn't want to have one. She just wanted to be buried with family, and what she did want was a party. So I think it's because she wants to be there partying with us. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, she loved to dance and loved to have a good time. Loved music, which is why all of us are involved, or my brother and sister and I are involved in music in some way. But it's losing someone. It's interesting because I did a podcast about what I was thinking about how I was using zero adversity to deal with this situation. And the only thing I can say is that I went very quickly on after she passed later that evening into the night at 1:00 in the morning. I had this really wonderful smile on my face. I was joyful because I know where she is. I know who she's with. Everybody who she's ever met in her life who's passed away was likely just lining up to greet her and to say hello again. Because my belief system is we don't ever die. We just go from non-physical form to physical form to non-physical form again, where our soul never dies. And so for her, this would be a wonderful homecoming. A wonderful homecoming. Yeah. And when it's my time, it'll be a wonderful homecoming as well. So thank you for the opportunity to share that.
So important. I couldn't help but think, I've been a student of Marianne Williamson's teachings, and she said, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people the permission to do the same. And It sounds as though your mother exemplified that. It's very rare, and it's a special thing. When you share your light, you really create a safety zone, as you explained. You felt seen, you felt heard, there was no judgment, and she permitted you to shine your light too, which is really exceptional. It's very, very exceptional. And sometimes we don't see that, and we don't recognize that we are that radiant light. I have been delving into Sarah Landon's latest book. It speaks to that. It's the 11 spiritual roles of the soul. And it's such a profound reminder that every single one of us carry an inner light, which is compassion and creativity and love and joy. I think sometimes we get lost in the myriad of all of the distractions, and we dim our light, and we don't feel worthy, as we talked about last week, and we sort of hide that. And it's very important to remember that we are this radiant soul. Your soul knows exactly how beautiful you are. You have a heart that feels deeply, as your mother did. I mean, to be able to recognize, as you said, she was very sensitive. She cared about people. And oftentimes when we have a tender heart like that, we notice when other people are hurting and we want to help them, but it becomes difficult for us as well. But I think that part of that sensitivity was her superpower, and kind of like that wick on a candle. And it may get blown by the wind through the different things that occur during the day or during a year or whatever lifetime, but it's always there. And when we allow ourselves to recognize that we have this beautiful light within us, it's just sort of like that oxygen for that candle flame to burn brighter. True. And I really appreciate you sharing, because it's something that we all go through. I lost my mom about 12 years ago, my dad very early on in life, and another good friend of mine actually just lost his mom yesterday, and he sent me a beautiful poem that he wrote about her. He didn't grow up in the family. It wasn't until later years that they found each other, and he was so grateful for the time that they had and the light that she shared with him during that lifetime and the gifts. And I think that that's really what it is all about. And your mother was somebody that was kind, and that when we meet somebody who offers genuine kindness, it makes us feel seen and safe and that we belong and loved. And she did all of those things. So I really do appreciate you sharing the gifts that she shared with the world as well.
Yeah. Well, it dovetails with our topic for today, which is your heart light, your light, your light of your soul, the light of your being, and where you focus, how we should be very cognizant and very conscious and intentional about making sure that we share our light with others and share our light in all situations, whether we're being kind, compassionate. Just what I like to say is bring your light with you. When you leave the house, take your light with you. And remember that you are, without your actually feeling it or knowing it, your light is impacting everyone you come into contact with. They feel your light. They sense your light. And the person that if you walk into a coffee shop, it's the person that you encounter even at the door. When you're opening the door and somebody else is looking to come out, you're looking to go in. I remember these moments because I have them all the time. And I'm very graceful when it comes to connecting with someone. And I always say, hello. Always, it's not a rote comment. It's whatever I feel at the moment. And no, come on out. And they'll come out and I say, enjoy your day. Make it an awesome day. And they'll go, yeah, thanks. And you walk on in. It's just like something completely natural. You don't know who they are. You never met them formally. And I always remember that your light is always touching someone. So you want to shine brightly. You want to shine brightly. And I'll tell you one little very quick story, about in the last 15 years, it was about 15 years ago, I had the opportunity. I asked my mother, I said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go somewhere with you. And she said, I want to go to Hawaii, the big island. Now, we'd been to Hawaii before. She'd been to Hawaii before, but never with me. And I came home and I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to take my mother to Hawaii. We're going together for a week. And she said, wow, that would be interesting. And I said, yeah, it might. And my mother played golf at the time. So we went to the big island, and I arranged to play golf on 3 different courses, beautiful course of the Four Seasons, and a couple of other courses. And I rented a house, had 2 bedrooms with king-size beds in each. And we made sure that we played the golf, but there was one thing that we did every single evening. We went to the lookout, and we saw the sunset every evening. We drive up to this lookout. It was in Kona, and the sun goes down out there. And it's just, we made sure whatever we were doing, after golf, before dinner, whatever, we made sure that we were there to catch that together. And it's just something that, to catch it with your mother when you're in your late 50s, it was a special moment, something I'll always remember, because it was just she and I. And we got to shine our light all over the island, wherever we went, to the volcano. We took a helicopter ride. We did all kinds of cool things, played golf, and ate some really great food. And we drove an hour to this place way out in the middle of nowhere at the very end of the highway in Kona, or past Kona out to the coast. and we had dinner there. And then 3 nights later, I said, where do you want to have dinner? And it was like 4 o'clock, and she said, I loved that little place we ate at. I said, let's go. We drove another hour, way out to this place. And we had dinner at this place twice, an hour out, hour back, a little town called Javi. And the chef was so nice. The people were all nice. It's just, you remember those. I've always said life is about creating experiences. And because experiences last forever. You can take experiences with you, believe it or not. You can. You can take experiences with you. You can't take stuff. Stuff is not what you remember. And we spend a lot of our resources on stuff, surrounding ourselves with stuff, gathering more stuff, getting stuff, giving stuff away. For those of people who actually chase stuff as a substitute for being happy, that thinking that something material will bring that to us, the experience of us using it is what we remember, not the thing itself. And I have a treasure trove of experiences with my mother, even though I haven't lived in the city where she lived for I've been here in Florida 24 years. But I still have, up to that point, I created it. And one other thing, too, this is the kind of mother that she actually was. My brother went to college to become an actor. He studied, and he got a Bachelor of Arts in the theater arts. And he came home. We were also all musicians. Came home, we formed a band. After his college days, we played around for about a year. And then he said, if I'm going to be an actor, I need to go to Hollywood. I need to go down there. And my mother said, I will support you. I'll pay your monthly rent so you won't have to worry. I'll make sure that you don't have to worry about money. Just go work hard. And he paid her all that money back in about 3 years. And he's never looked back, and he's become an incredible actor, and she was incredibly proud of him. And that's the kind of person she was. She paid my rent for a while until I was able to get on my feet again after I left college and in a different job. I had a failed business, and then I went back to work, and she helped me get back on my feet, and I never forgot it. But we always, believe it or not, we always paid her back. She didn't want it, but we were like, hey, you helped me, and I'm going to make sure that we return the favor, and that you know that this wasn't just something we expected from you because you were our mother. But that's just who she was. All right, I'm done talking about my mother now. I got to a million stories. But her light was big. His light was huge.
Michael, though, it's beautiful because there are so many things, I think, each one, when you were speaking about taking your mom on a trip, it brought me back to me taking my mom. It was her birthday, and I asked her where she wanted to go. She wanted to go to New York City, and the same thing. All of the different places that we went, it was so wonderful because my mother delighted in the smallest things. She took joy in so much, and I have so many wonderful pictures of us just sitting in Central Park, and she'd point out these faces that were in the trees, and I would take pictures of them. And we went out to the Statue of Liberty. As many times I had been to New York, I never had been out there. And there was a lot of things that she could relate to because her parents came from Norway. And it was a really beautiful time to share with her. And I love the fact that you posted a photo of your mom's smile because for me, that is one of the best ways that we share our light. I love you describing it as a Mona Lisa smile because it doesn't have to be a grand, dramatic smile. It doesn't have to be a full teeth. A smile can be so soft that it's just like, I see you, I feel you, I recognize you. You're here. You're here with me. And it's beautiful. I think that that's part of the teaching of what it means to shine your light because I have friends that are very joyful and energetic and when they walk into a room because they announce themselves. But their light doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be a big bonfire. It can be that little candle in the window that when somebody comes up and you're seated at dinner and you just look over and you smile and how are you? And it may just be just that little exchange that makes them feel that they belong in the world. You don't know their story. You don't know anything else, but you are holding this light and you naturally attract others who are looking for that warmth. I think that that's the way that your mom was. I think that's the way you are. It's like you're a beacon, and I think we can all learn from that. We all have that ability. So many times, especially with social media, belonging has become like this club. So if we're not in the right group, we feel like we're left out. When we forget that we all of us, each one of us, have this light that shines within us. And we don't have to, when we are in joy, we don't have to say anything to anybody. And we can be kind, we can just be present. And that's really what allows birth to be possible in this world. And that, I think for me, that's what shining your light is all about. I keep getting these messages. So when you said we wanted to talk about the light within today, I thought to myself, what an amazing synchronicity. I just had a session with Dawn about. During the session, she spoke about the light within me that I'm here to share. And not even 10 minutes after I finished the session with her, I was tidying up the room and found a book that had somehow gotten buried. Guess what the subject was? It was all about the light within. I thought, oh my goodness, this is confirmation. And it's just those gentle reminders that we receive all the time. And it's that we are seen. We do hold, each one of us, this light that connects us. And that's what I'm really enjoying about that book by Sarah Landon as well.
I think it's lovely, lovely. The thing that came to my mind when you were just saying that is, it is your inner joy, your inner light. And every soul on this planet has this light. And what's different is that some people stoke it more than others. Stoking your inner light by doing your inner work, by treating yourself with respect and kindness and love and compassion and forgiveness. When you go inside and you literally love yourself, when you start treating yourself with that respect and that compassion, and when you engage in things that you know bring you joy, bring you happiness, that excite you, that impassion you, your inner light is stoked. It shines brightly. And when you bring the feelings that you have about yourself wherever you go, there's a confidence that builds. When you know that no matter what it is that's going on externally in your world, people, whatever, that you are secure within yourself, that's when your light shines brightest. Because, we talk about light, we're like, yeah, everybody's got it. How does it naturally continue to radiate and build in its radiance? And that's just simply, it's not something that's external. You don't externally stoke your own fire. It's something, it doesn't cost anything. You can read books to the day's long end about it. However, if you derive joy from reading a book, that feeling that you have about having done that, about having read it, the story, identifying with the characters, there's an excitement that's in you. And that's stoking your light. That's building your light. So anything and everything that you do, if you enjoy taking a walk in the morning, your light is shining brightly because you're excited about what you're doing. You're loving it. And the only thing I ever tell people anymore is just literally do what you love. Do what excites you. Do what impassions you. And your light will shine incredibly bright. And you'll never guess and never be able to guess all the cool things that will happen for you, the synchronicities, the other desires, dreams, and wishes that you have for yourself. Your inner light, the brightness of your light, and carrying it with you and sharing it with others, it literally is a pathway for those desires and dreams and urges to come to fruition in one form or another. Not the form maybe that you thought perhaps better and exponentially better. Because it's really cool. Earlier on in my life, in my 20s, and I had, I did a lot of different things. In college I worked, 2-job man, that kind of thing. I had a business, private party business, and I loved it because I got to share other people's joys and wedding things, parties, birthdays, or whatever. I just brought my own light to those parties, and I think it helped make them better because I was kind of like this beacon, and it was the perfect thing for me. However, I understood that when I went out, when I was excited and I was passionate, no matter where I went, people would go, oh, man, people are attracted to light like that, like a moth to flame, like a moth to a flame. That's or a bright light. That's what happens. You attract all those cool things that you're looking for. I used to have people all the time, you know what, I like your energy. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what to call it. I like your presence. I like your energy. I'd like you to come work with me. I'm going, what do you do? And then they tell me what they do. And I go, oh, okay, we can talk about that. Or if it was something that I had zero interest in, I wasn't impassioned by, I wasn't rude to them. I'd say, not necessarily my preferential path right now, but can I keep it in mind? And they go, yeah, if you ever change your mind, come and see me. Because people want people who have a lot of light. If it's something that involves connecting with other people, if your job involves connecting with other people, they want people who have a lot of light. They don't know what to call it. They're not really into the metaphysical. They just know they feel something. They sense something. Mm-hmm. And that sensing and that feeling is what makes your dreams come true. It really does.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I so appreciate you bringing that up, Michael, because what I hear you saying, and it's such a good point to ground into, you were your authentic self. And I believe that when we are our authentic self, as you said, it illuminates the path for others to not only see your light, but also to realize their own worth. It's just so simple. Your presence is all that's needed. You're shining your light. You don't have to do anything. You're simply the light. And that's one of the things that Sarah Landon talked about in that book. She calls it a way shower. So if I had to say that you were a way shower. And she also spoke about the idea of one of the soul's purposes to be a creator. So when you are in that space, you are using your joy and sharing that, and you're building those bridges of connection, and your light is shining, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I love the fact that you were able to recognize, I really appreciate the gifts and what you're doing, but it isn't resonating with me, and perhaps maybe someday it will, but I wish you all the best. And that's sometimes all that somebody needs to take from that exchange. But you were connecting with others, and that's really what it is all about. I mean, we have this radiant soul within us, and we just need to be able to, as you said, just allow ourselves to be. I know that when I am in my flow, I kind of call it my flow, people are attracted to me in the same way. I had somebody pay me a beautiful compliment. They said, when I first met you, I just felt so at ease. I love being around you. It makes me feel so good. And it was, I felt so humbled and honored that they said that. But I'm thinking to myself, well, they're seeing the light, and I always try to help others see the light within themselves. I feel that's part of one of perhaps my soul's roles in this lifetime, to help others recognize their own beauty and their gifts and what's within them. Because we do, for whatever reason, we have these little speed bumps that kind of take us off our path and take us away from our authentic selves. And perhaps it just takes a little bit of light to help guide us back on the path. It's the path of illumination. It made me think about, those solar landscaping lights that we put in the yard and along sidewalks, that if we imagine ourselves placing little bits of our light along the pathway, and when we do so, we never know who we might be helping. We might be saving somebody from tripping or stumbling or even falling because of that little bit of light that illuminated their path. Yeah.
It's a very good visual. It's an awesome visual. I thought of this. You're talking about being your authentic self, which is a great way to kind of frame what I was talking about. You have this wonderful way with words and in describing concepts. And I thought about being in the flow of being you. Being in
I
the
love
flow of being you, right? We live in a world that there's so much pressure to be like someone else, because being like someone else means that you'll adopt all of their routines and other things and that make them your own. When we really have to do that for a while, because then you make this determination of what you do and don't want in your life. It's that contrast that you create. Eventually, however, you're going to be yourself. I don't know if it's so easy to be your authentic self in your 20s, in teens and 20s. You're still getting to know who the heck you are and what you want. What makes you feel good. In your 30s and 40s, there could be a little more of that. You're making some decisions. You've had time enough on this planet to see how the consequences of the choices and decisions have worked out, played out for you. And I think it was Carl Jung that said in your 40s you figured you kind of have a good idea about what it is that you do and don't want. And I'm a big fan of contrast. I'm a huge fan of contrast as a form of personal alchemy, because if nothing's. We talked about perfection last week or a week before. Perfection, there is none. You're perfect right here, right now, as you are. You got to see yourself as perfect right now, and you're only going to be getting better. Right? Tomorrow you're perfect. The next day you're perfect. There is no lack in terms of perfection. And your authentic self knows that you're perfect. Right? You have to have enough contrasting experiences to understand what you don't want, what you don't like. I don't like that feeling I get by doing that. I like the feeling I get by doing this. Do more of what makes you feel good. If you want to know how to be happy, key to happiness. Do what you like all the time. and if you don't like the thing that you have to do, you can get one or two choices. You can rethink doing what you're doing, or find the joy in it. That's it. Those are the only two choices. Find the joy in the thing that you like the least. If you've put yourself in a situation where you must do it, and there are people out there working jobs that they don't like because they are somehow focused on how it's not right for them. Well, I say that you can find joy and excitement in just about anything. You may have to look for it. You may have to focus on it, focus on something different, shift your perception, your perspective, the way that you're perceiving yourself in relationship to what you're doing. But it is possible to find joy in everything. The joy in my mother's passing, very simply, gratitude for having had the amount of time I had with her. That's the joy in my mother's passing. What did Rumi say? Look deep into the ashes. When you look deep into the ashes, you're going to find the treasure. You're going to find the richness. And that's really what I do in just about every situation, especially this. I knew it was coming. However, I quickly shifted, and I tell people this all the time. When you shift from sadness to gratitude, you're on the right path. You're healing. You don't have to do 7 steps and all that stuff. It's just a function of what your perception is. It's the worst thing ever, and I'm never going to be able to get over this, or I'm so grateful, I'm so joyful that I had the time I had. I didn't waste any. I told her how I felt. She knew while I was physically in her face, whether she couldn't talk to me or not. Told her I love her all the time, gave her kisses whenever I could, on the cheek, on the forehead. Wow. I gave her back rubs, neck rubs. You have these opportunities. You either take advantage of them or you don't, but don't wish you had. I should have done this. I wished I'd done that. That's not the life that I know. I live now. I tell everybody how much I love them. And that comes from contrast. That comes from contrast. Mm-hmm. Losing people early in life, right? And not doing those things, so you learn to do those things.
Yeah, I think that's so wonderful. I heard a quote the other day, and that's exactly what they said, that from great loss comes great light, compassion. So much of what we learn, it's that duality that we experience in life so much. The light and the dark. We just run forward, so we lost an hour. So it's thrown me off a little bit. I'm enjoying the daylight. It took my morning a little bit of time to acclimate, but recognizing the light's coming back. I had 5 ladybugs come out and just walk around my windowsill. And I just took the time to delight in that and know that spring is on its way. And even though we might have a few cold days, it's okay. And I think that the life is like that. You may have a few little speed bumps here and there, but you will have that joy come back, and we will have all of that beauty back in our life, no matter how difficult things may be. And sometimes it's being kind to yourself. And one of the things that I know you've done is you've taken time for yourself. We need to understand that you have a major life happening and that we need to extend that kindness to ourselves, to nurture our own light and have the compassion for ourselves and those around us, and the kindness of just being in your own presence and allowing whatever healing that needs to take place. I mean, I don't have a 9-to-5 job, but for individuals that do have a life crisis and they're expected to be at work a couple days later, and they don't have that grace to allow themselves to really nurture and allow themselves to heal and be in those spaces of gratitude because they're getting bombarded with other things. I think that when we know somebody who's gone through an experience, that's when we have a chance to share our light even further and to really extend that space to others as well.
I so agree with that. I do so agree with that. And that's very, very important to do just that, all of that. It's people, when you're – the most challenging thing in my view is for people to do is to, when they're in a situation where they're grieving in their own way, having to go and engage their light with other people when their light is dim because of their own grief and sorrow. I got to tell you something, because I went to see my niece in Hamilton last Friday, and my mother had passed just before the show started. And it was on Broadway, right? I'm going to see my niece for the first time in this show. And so what I came to understand is, after halfway through the show at the intermission, when I found out, is that I hadn't read the text. She read the text before she went on, and she performed the entire show in her part as if nothing had happened. She was as joyful and funny and witty and perfect in her performance as any other show. And I really, she was the consummate professional, and I didn't really ask her how she did it. It wasn't the right time. However, I know that she's stronger than she maybe gives herself credit for, but she really, I'm telling you, was perfect under those conditions, knowing that her grandmother, who she was incredibly close to, had passed on. You would have never. Nobody knew it. They were talking about it backstage amongst the crew and everybody else, because she told a couple of people. But the fact is that she was. I don't know where she compartmentalized. I don't know, but that's usually what I do, is compartmentalize, knowing that my light needs to be strong, and I'll quickly think of something positive about that particular individual person, and that makes me laugh, a story of some kind of experience that we had together. And then I'll go do what I need to do if I'm out in front of people and speaking or doing whatever, needing to be in the public space. However, I was so taken aback by how wonderful she was in that, and I didn't know during the first act that she'd known, and didn't find out until after the show, which was really awesome. That's the case. But there are times when you have to bring your light, where you need to bring your light, because your light can help others shine. And you may be going through something. Yeah, you may be going through something, and you have to think about something positive. Think about something that brings you joy and happiness. the last time you saw somebody, an experience that you had together, whatever it is. Because, it's in my niece and my nephew are of a generation that is more sensitive to, in connection to than other generations, and I'm very grateful for that. We want a generation that is sensitive and compassionate and kind and loving, and they are that. They're friends of that, and they give me hope for the future that the light will continue to shine and continue to shine brightly.
Right. Michael, I've never met your niece, but I would suspect, because you had mentioned early on the conversation that your mother loved music. And what a beautiful tribute to be joyful and to be able to be on stage and share music and be the cause of delight and laughter. So many people in the audience and allowing them to have that experience. I mean, it sort of is similar in so many ways to the way your mother illuminated her path in life. And right. I think that your niece did the same. I think we sometimes, I think, as you said, we have this inner strength we have as we cultivate our own light. It does. We garner strength and bravery and oftentimes surprise ourselves where that comes from when we experience difficulty and times of trouble. And we just muster it up. I know I've had some interesting experiences in my lifetime. And then people will say, I don't even know how you got through that. And I don't think twice about it. It's just, there's no doubt in my mind that it'll get through it. I'll be on the other side. Tomorrow will be a new day. I'm grateful for the experience. It's made me stronger, whatever it is. So I just wanted to share that because I saw some photos on her Instagram. I mean, she shines anyway, but she was especially radiant, and I saw her joking with some different individuals and posting some very lighthearted things, and just really wanting, as you said, to hold that light and be that person and not allow anybody in the audience or whomever she interacts with to feel any burden on her heart. And it's not that she didn't love your mother, because, as you said, she was so close. But sometimes, often, that's the fastest way to healing, and she's creating those ripples, those small actions outward that we oftentimes never really realize, but those ripples do matter. They remind people of the love that exists in the world, and that's what your mom did and what you do. And I'm glad you called them ripples. That's a really wonderful visual, because that is exactly what they are. When you have your smile ripples out into infinity, and your joy out and your excitement and passion ripples out into infinity. And people, it's like dropping that pebble into still water. You can see how it radiates out in 360 degrees, and it just keeps going. It's infinite, and that is the essence of what our light does. It shines out. It's not only in our own little energy field. It's radiating out, and everyone is picking it up. Now imagine, really, this is the kind of stuff I think about in the middle of the night if I wake up, how radiating your light, if we all focused on stoking and building our own light, what that would actually do for this world, how it would radiate, how it would impact the global consciousness of each individual country, the consciousness of your own street, how it would change things, because there is so much focus right now on the antithesis of light, so much focus on darkness. So I'll simply say this: it's very wonderful. I heard this today from it was Veda Austin, who was talking about your light and how what you focus your light on is really what happens. It's what you get. It's the reality that you create for yourself. So you have to. So by turning around and focusing our light, our bright light, on darkness, we're expanding the darkness.
And that's really what happens. So we want to be focusing our light out into the world on things that we want to occur, that we want to continue to build, that we want to support, that we want to promote, that it's like bringing your light into a dark room. You start focusing on the darkness, all of a sudden your light is dimming, and you're all dark, right? Nobody can see anymore. But when you bring your light into a dark room and you're shining brightly, everybody can see. And if everybody does that, then there's no darkness, because the light has replaced the darkness. This is the world we're in right now. People say, "Oh yeah, how do you deal with this chaos and over there?" Don't focus your light on the chaos. Don't focus your light on the negativity, because it expands that negativity, which is already a contracting energy. Now we give it life with our own light. And this happens as simply as being in your own home. If you get up in the morning and you're radiating a lot of light because you're thinking about the goodness in yourself and how loving what routines you're going to do that are going to stoke your own light, brighten your own light, that is going to impact everybody in your household. Your partner, your kids, if you've got kids, your other generation, if you're living in a multi-generational household. It's going to impact the physical structure of the house. Somebody told me the other day that, and this is really interesting to think about, scientifically and metaphysically, a house that is empty will crumble eventually. Whereas that same house with energy and light within it will not crumble. It will stay the same. It's really interesting. As we look at houses over time, how they just, I drive by houses that are 100 years old down here, 100, 200 years old. And you look at these old structures and they're just falling apart. They're falling in on themselves, right? There's no light there. There's no vibrance. There's no energy. That's what we bring to the table is that. If we left this house and this house was completely vacant for the next 2 decades, it would begin to crumble, begin to fall apart. That's what our light does and think about from the perspective of how that can shift the environment that we're living in. We can shift it completely if everyone decided to focus on their light on things, focus their light on building and stoking and building light outside of themselves. Right. Our own light, awesome. Let it shine brightly and be careful about where we're focusing it. We don't want to expand things if we don't want. Right.
And you're absolutely right, Michael. I am so grateful that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people, when they tune into the media, which I do not that's a personal choice, that they start feeling hopeless and helpless, and they wonder, how can I make a difference? And the truth is that every time you choose kindness or compassion, or as you said, you're living that light, you're filling that house with light, you are making a difference. You're contributing to a more loving world. I kind of had a very funny week. I do dog rescue, so I end up with all kinds of animals. I end up with lots of plastic bags that food comes in. And I got to a certain point, because they don't degrade, and I thought, I really feel bad about putting these in the landfill. And so I started stockpiling them, and I thought, what can I do with these bags? And I had them all in a corner of my rescue. And the other day I sat there and I cut them apart. And I thought, this is just like a tarp, and I'm going to get something, and I'm going to use it as almost like in my garden to keep the weeds down. But I sat there. It took me about an hour. I cut all of these bags that I had stockpiled, but I felt so happy that I had done that and that they weren't going into the garbage, because if I get hit by a car or something, somebody comes in, they're like, why are you holding on to these bags? But you know what? To me, it made a difference. It makes me feel good. That's a simple act that I can do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to shine my light, and I think no matter what it is that you choose to do, I think this is the first time I even told anybody that I was doing this thing, because it might sound weird, and I thought there's got to be a way to shift this, but maybe my small act will inspire somebody else to say we can do better, we can do something more. These aren't as thin as the bags that we try to eliminate in the grocery store. They're really thick and they don't decompose. And so I just sort of think to myself, no matter what it is, we have to remember that our light was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to illuminate the path for others. So by doing small acts of kindness and sharing compassion and just even being your presence, as you said, just being in that house, it's such a great metaphor for the world. We remind the world that love still lives here. It lives here. We're not alone. And we do belong to a greater connection. And that's why I'm so grateful for these shows with you, because they bring forth new aspects of myself and new teachings and new learning. I love when you let your light shine. There's so many different things through these stories. And I'm grateful to your mom for bringing you into this world. And it was a beautiful gift, as were your brother and sister. So I'm just very, very glad about that. And I would love for you to share any of your mom's teachings, like rice in the bowl or some of the other things. But the gifts that you felt were transformative, that allowed you to shine your light, that may be helpful to somebody in our audience that's listening today. And I'm just so grateful.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Let me just, before I do that, I want to simply say that you made a brilliant statement there we need to emphasize. Illuminate the path for someone else. Allow your light to illuminate the path for someone else. And that's a beautiful statement. It also falls into being of service to others, which is really, really important instead of self. Be of service to yourself by building your light. But be of service to others by sharing that light and help and illuminating the path for someone else. As Noah Bashia, who was we were talking about last week, was stating is that we be kind to others, give to others, but give to yourself first. Be kind to yourself first. And I think what he was saying there is exactly what we're saying on the show. Build your own light first. Stoke your own light first, then share it. Because in doing so, you're not only continuing to build your own light, but you're illuminating, again, the path for someone else. As far as my mom, wow. I would say that for what's different, I sat around and asked her one day, I said, Mom, how did you create? How did you raise 3 self-actualized children? And then she turned around and gave me this old book with a green cover. I think I sent it back to her. My mother was I think she read a lot of psychology back in the day, but she had a specific book, and I can't tell you what the book is because I don't even know if it's still around. I didn't clean my mother's house out the first time when she went into assisted living, but it was a book, and it was a book about raising a family, raising kids and stuff. And in my view, what she learned from that was to simply let you encourage your kids to be who they are, and to learn who they are, and to express who they are. My mother never did a lot of yelling. If we got into trouble, it was, okay, so what are you going to do now? Because in my view, she understood that she needed to back off and let us make decisions and then face the consequences of those decisions so we could learn how to be good people, right? So we were never vindictive. We moved every 2 years. We cried when we left people, and we were joyful when we met new people. And that is something that we learned, and my brother and sister and I talk about it all the time, how we were grateful to have had the opportunity to live in places and experience life and to meet people every couple of years, that we had experiences that other people in life don't have or are afraid to have. Many parents are afraid to expose their kids, to take their kids out of school, away from their friends, and take them somewhere else for a couple of years and never come back. And we just, not only did we not mind that over time, but the experiences, the richness of the experiences that they enabled us to have made us self-actualized. And I tell people this all the time. At 12 years old, think about it now, a 12-year-old here in the United States, I was running around in a foreign country playing music. And I didn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 on a Saturday night. At 12 years old, I was out running the streets of a city overseas. And it was, my mother had complete trust and faith in us. We wake up the next morning and she'd say, "How did your gig go last night? How was it?" And anything new about it, with complete trust and complete, I was very honest with her. And we had the opportunity to make mistakes. We had the opportunity to take a dark path into drugs and drinking and all that kind of stuff. We didn't do it. We didn't make that. And I think that innately we felt that we had an obligation to be honest with her and to be upstanding kids for her, little children, so to speak, to not do things that would embarrass them, because there was a lot of trust there, and we didn't want to break that bond of trust. She laid it out there, and we basically didn't do anything to break that trust. Nothing did we do to do that, and I love that. There was no rebellion, because there was no reason to be rebellious. We were given the opportunity to go out and do things and make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes, whatever they might have been. And there weren't a whole lot of mistakes. We just did what made it. We were playing music. That was what we were excited about. We were passionate about that. We spent a lot of time doing it. And that's what I tell people today. Whatever it is that you're passionate and excited about, whatever your kid's excited about, let them go ahead and follow that path, wherever it leads. If they decide they're not excited or passionate about it anymore, don't get upset. Say, what's next? Have time to go figure out what's next. I love you. I'm glad you had that experience. What's next? And that was Mom. That was Mom all the way. So thank you for allowing me to share my mother with the world here on PRNFM and our podcast, Connect to Love. I really do. And this show is spectacular. It's not only cathartic for me, and I know it's cathartic for you. I hope we're in some way giving our audience a different viewpoint, a different perspective, maybe the ability to shift the perception about some event in their life or some connection or some situation that they've been in. There's a lot of different ways you can look at things, a lot of different ways. Every situation is a multifaceted diamond. You can come at it from a myriad of different ways. And I know you and I always choose a way that allows us to remain empowered and authentic and energized. And that's all I'm really wishing for the people that listen all the way around the world, whatever you're dealing with. You don't have to involve yourself in the chaos. You don't have to feed the chaos. You don't have to feed the darkness. You can be in the light wherever you are. And I hope that you do. I hope you choose that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michael. It was so beautiful, and there's a vulnerability, and it fills my heart to be able to know your mom in that way. And I've always believed, as the Native Americans have always said, that we are made of stars, and that if you look to the skies, we'll see the light. And it's a great reminder. I'm going to look at the stars. We're the stuff that is made of stars. And so when I look at the stars tonight, I'm going to see your mom shining bright. And I hope that each and every one of you can go out and be the light and make others feel safe enough to find their own. And thank you for connecting with love And until next time, peace out and
Thank you.
always be the light. Thank you.